Hey guys, once again here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to talk about what the part 2 banners are going to look like that should hopefully be dropping on the 24th. Now obviously with the Dokkan X Carnival format we actually get a very good idea when it comes to these banners who is going to be present in the part 2 versions, because of course these banners usually for these big celebrations they are featuring one half of a dual Dokkan Fest on one of the banners, and then of course the next Dokkan Fest banner in part 2 features the matching pair like unit that came out when those units originally released, either as a dual Dokkan Fest or as we get into these newer celebrations now obviously as another part 1 and 2 like Dokkan X Carnival sort of thing. So when it comes to what will be the Omega banner, this is the easiest one to predict. Obviously there's a couple of slots at the bottom. We got the AGL Rose and the Physical Vegeta Blue. They are on here because of course they both got their super easy A's. So this is I think there's still very likely 2 options for these slots, which we will go over here. But yeah, really the only one that is kind of very up in the air at the moment in terms of who it will be is the slot for Champa, which is the banner unit, right? So I brought up just like the GT link here. Because Omega's banner, now obviously the Goku and Vegeta banner had Champa as a banner unit, which was very weird because he supports Realm of Gods, but he's not on either of the teams for the new unit. So he's kind of a weird example of a banner unit where if you pull him and the new unit, like he doesn't help the new unit on their team, which is kind of strange, but it is what it is. So hopefully the Omega banner unit, considering how bad GT Bosses is in general, will be a GT Bosses character. And there are a couple of different options, right? I mean, we've got all the various GT characters here. Baby as a banner for Omega probably doesn't make a huge amount of sense. Some other version of the Shadow Dragons grouped together could make sense. Hopefully not with the same name as these guys, because I still feel like they're going to easy A. Obviously we've already had like Ice and Nova and Sin, and then like Nova on his own as a banner unit. We still don't have a standalone Ice Shenron that isn't just like this farmable SSR that never got an awakening. So I think Ice Shenron would be a pretty good choice. We know we're getting an LR Nova Shenron as well. From this new event that's coming out. I thought at first it was potentially a prime battle, but it seems like that might not be the case. I'm not sure 100%. But if we're getting a new Nova, I think banner unit Ice Shenron is probably a really good choice for the banner unit for Omega, because then you've got the new Omega, you get the Ice Shenron banner unit, you've got the free-to-play LR Nova Shenron, and then you've got like 3 Shadow Dragons ready to go from the new setup, right? So I think that's a pretty good idea. If they end up doing a full free-to-play Shadow Dragon Saga team like they did for the clones in part 1, then I wouldn't expect a Shadow Dragon banner unit. And then at that point I guess it could be anyone, right? Sin, another Sin is still a good option. But yeah, Baby, Cell, Frieza, Cell and Frieza, Rildo, like there's a couple of options there, but it also kind of depends what Omega's leader skill is going to be. But then after that, it all becomes pretty straightforward for the next couple of slots. Obviously, the slot where Goku and Vegeta are will be taken up by Omega. Then the next slot on the banner was the AGL Gogeta, so of course that will be Tech Vegito. A lot of people I'm sure are looking forward to this guy coming back. It's interesting because like, they knew what they were doing holding him back for the part 2 banner for him to be like a hype pull for people, but now it's kind of crazy that like I guess Gogeta is like the big hype for a lot of people, which will be the Carnival banner. So I guess this guy is here on part 2 to kind of get people to summon for Omega, right? Because you might get extra copies of Vegito on his banner. So Vegeta will be on there in the place of the AGL Gogeta. Then the part 1 banner had the physical trio from the worldwide celebration, the Goku, Trunks and Gohan. So obviously this version of the banner will have the Int Broly. Unfortunately, Int Broly, as good as he was on release, like he definitely has been power crept by the most difficult content. I tried taking him and his team into the Rose and Zamasu event on a recent stream, and like even with his domain up and the guard and everything, like he just gets absolutely destroyed. So that's the unfortunate thing with power creep, is a lot of these units that are going to be on the banner, like this guy isn't even technically a year old and he's already essentially outdated, which is a little bit disappointing. But Int Broly will be on the banner in the spot where the physical trio was. Then the next spot on the banner was Beast Gohan, so that will of course be the AGL Broly. Unfortunately, again, like 2 LR Brolys on the banner, both of them essentially outdated and not really usable in the most difficult content anymore, which is unfortunate because I absolutely loved this unit. I got super lucky in the 9th anniversary. I got this guy to like 90% in very few stones because I was trying to chase for a copy of the Golden Frieza, and he was really, really good, but obviously he has aged quite a bit. I mean, I haven't tried him out on the 220 Super Bosses team, but obviously in difficult content, I can't imagine he's going to be anything too crazy. But yes, he will be on the banner instead of the Beast Gohan from part 1. Then the next slot is the Blue Boys, the Saiyans with no limits. So of course their counterpart is the Tech Zamasu. He's on Super Bosses, so like he could still have some use on the new Rose and Zamasu team, like in short events potentially, when he has the big damage reduction still early on. But obviously another unit that is getting pretty outdated at this point. And then the interesting one actually next is the next slot was Vegeta and Trunks, who we all assumed were there because they were going to get an easy A, and that has not materialized yet. So the interesting thing is, because they are a Tanabata unit who are based around the Future Saga, which is obviously part 1, I feel like their slot on the banner could be taken up with the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, because he's the Tanabata LR from the next year and he's GT related. So it kind of makes sense for him to be on the part 2 banner with GT stuff. Obviously Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta being on the opposite banner. I mean, this guy again, he's outdated as well, but yeah, even a 220 team is not really enough to save him when it comes to the difficult content, but I can absolutely see him taking the place of Vegeta and Trunks. Then we had the Tech Gods, so of course their counterpart is the physical LR Super Saiyan 4s, who are still very good and will be very, very good with the new Gogeta. These guys are absolutely still a great pull to get from the banner if you don't have them or don't have them rainbowed already. Then these guys are still very, very good. So they would obviously be there as the counterpart to the Tech Gods. And that's when we get to the 2 SSRs. So we had AGL Rose and Physical Vegeta Blue. In terms of Dokkan Fest TURs that are going to get easy A's or super easy A's, the 2 most obvious candidates to be in those 2 slots on the banner are INT Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and STR Omega Shenron. STR Omega Shenron is basically the next unit in line to get a super easy A. I've had a couple of the 70% leads already, and it makes perfect sense being GT, being a new Omega. Obviously, it's a shame with being standalone new Omega, they share the same name. But I mean, this guy, obviously you can see already has some support ability in his passive anyway. So he's potentially just going to end up being a 3rd slot floating support. And if the new Omega is a really good slot 1 unit, then obviously it's not going to matter too much, and it won't impact this guy's functionality on the team. And then the same can go for INT Gogeta. Like, this guy's just all stats. So, I mean, if they did throw some kind of support on him, then again, he could be useful floating on the team for the new Gogeta. Otherwise, linking will be a problem. But I mentioned this in the earlier video, like, he can counter supers. So if he's a floating 3rd slot support, he kind of has a built-in way to not be that typical scenario where your slot 3 floating support gets hit with a super from the boss and gets you killed, because this guy's going to have a chance to counter that super. So he's going to be a much safer slot 3 floating support that potentially won't just keep getting you killed against the hardest bosses. So definitely can see these 2 guys being the 2 SSRs. And so yeah, that basically fills out the Dokkan Fest banner. As you can see, we're going to have a banner unit, we're going to have a Mega Shenron, Tech Vegito, INT Broly, AGL Broly, Tech Zamasu. INT Super Saiyan 4 Goku is probably the top pick, I think, for this, because it's got this, not like there's another Tanabata in the same year, or like it's not a dual Dokkan Fest. The other unit that came out with these guys is a Yellow Coin LR who was already in part 1, so it makes the most sense for that to be INT Goku. The physical Super Saiyan 4s, and then INT Gogeta and STR Omega. So I'm pretty sure that that is almost exactly what the banner lineup will be. The only one I would say maybe changes is INT Super Saiyan 4 Goku in place of Goku and Vegeta and Trunks, because he came out a full year after them. But it makes sense when you think, like I said, Vegeta and Trunks are a Tanabata Part 1 unit that was based on Future Saga, and then Goku is a Tanabata Part 1 unit that's based on GT. Makes a lot of sense for him to be on that banner, I think. So then we get on to the Carnival Banner, and this is the one that is going to be very interesting. There's going to be some good units on here, there's going to be some not so good units on here, some good combos, and then of course there's always a couple of SSRs that are like unfeatured because we don't have Dokkan Fests on these Carnival banners, right? So this one should be certainly very interesting. Slot 1, of course, is going to be the new Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. He's going to be the big daddy, the one everyone is going for. And then when we move on to the next 2 slots, we obviously have the 2 Carnival LRs from the 10th anniversary, one from part 1, one from part 2. So that means that those slots on the banner are going to be taken up by AGL Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Now, this guy being on the same banner as Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is just absolute cinema, because you would assume that Gogeta is going to have a leader skill that fits this guy on it, but even if he doesn't, he's on his leader skill, and this Goku, of course, going to be absolutely fantastic to run with the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, giving him the extra defense in the early turns, and then we get the Golden Ape transformation, we get the unskippable Grandpa cutscene, and then get Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then he'll be giving the new Gogeta 70% defense and 10% damage reduction. I mean, it's funny because when this guy came out, a lot of people speculated that they were holding back on Power Beyond Super Saiyan releases because this guy would then make them too good. So it does make you wonder, like, how crazy powerful is Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta going to be? And then when you put this guy next to him, he's going to be even more crazy. So the fact that they're on the same banner is going to be pretty awesome. And then, yeah, this Gohan, I still think he gets a lot of undeserved hate. I think he's pretty decent. So, I mean, I'll be happy to get dupes for him personally, with him being on the Carnival banner. But yeah, he will be there, along with Goku, to take the place of the Frieza and the Blue Evolution Vegeta. So then the next unit on the banner was the Tech Broly, the tank movie boss Broly. And of course, he will be mirrored by the STR family Kamehameha Gohan on this banner. He can still be okay. I've tested him out against Rose and Zamasu. Like, if you get enough orbs in the standby, he can tank, like, relatively okay. But he's a massive liability outside of the standby. So, definitely a tricky one to use in the hardest fight, at least. He'll still be good in some of the other endgame content that we've gotten from the celebration. So, him being on the banner is pretty cool. Then the next slot was the physical Gogeta, obviously rounding up the 9th anniversary characters that we got from the Dokkan Fest banners. So the physical Gogeta that transforms into blue, obviously going to be replaced by the LR Gammas, and then that completes the set of characters from the 9th anniversary. Then the next other final featured LR on the banner is STR Future Gohan, which means that his, of course, counterpart is the physical Sword of Hope Trunks, who definitely is very outdated at this point. So, like, Trunks, not a great pull. The Gammas, they're pretty outdated now as well, to be fair. This guy, still an okay pull. And then Gohan and the Goku, pretty decent. And then, of course, like, the new Gogeta. They're the main featured LRs. Now, because it's a Carnival banner, the other featured units are 3 SSRs, and then there's an SR Zamasu, which is very random, obviously not useful for super attack farming or anything. So there's no SR Super Saiyan 4s, so maybe it'll be like an SR GT Goku or something, I don't know. But then the last 2 or 3 slots, there are 2 unfeatured SSRs, Physical Zamasu and the Physical Ribrienne. But Int LR Fusion Zamasu was also featured on the banner, and he got an easy A. So I could see his slot on the banner being taken by Tech LR Super 17, because he is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, LRs that doesn't have an easy A, and obviously fits very well into the GT celebration. He shares categories like Battle of Fate, Power Absorption, and Inhuman Deeds with Omega, so depending on what Omega's leader skill is going to be, this guy could very much just be on his team. So if he's featured on his banner and gets an easy A, just like the Int Zamasu was in part 1, then obviously that would be very, very good. And then when it comes to the 2 random unfeatured SSRs, if we just go back to like the GT links page again, like I could see it being like the Tech Isanova, maybe the Tech Sin. I guess you could have like the Goten and Trunks and like the Goten and Gohan, but like all of the unfeatured GT SSRs, and this is usually the case for these random unfeatured SSRs anyway, well, they are featured, but like general pool SSRs, is that most of them aren't usable anyway. So we're not going to be expecting anything good. When we look at the GT characters, it's not like there really are that many great options anyway, that aren't Dokkan Fests. So yeah, this is the one I can't really guess what these featured units are going to be. If I had to guess, I'd go for like Isanova and Sin, just because they at least fit the theme with the part 2 Dokkan Fest banner, even though this is the Carnival banner, because of course there are no unfeatured like Super Saiyan 4s. I mean, you could have the Goku and Vegeta like Super Saiyan 3s, the AGL and the STR one, if they're both going to get an easy A as well, but I think that's kind of unlikely. I guess the SR could be like the SR Omega, or is he actually a Sin? I can't remember, but this guy could be the random featured SR, even though it is obviously the Gogeta banner. But yeah, the last 2 slots going to be 2 random unfeatured GT SSRs, I would imagine. So jumping back to the full banner image again, so we're going to have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Family Kamehameha Gohan, then the Gammas, then Sword of Hope Trunks, then we got a random GT SSR, then I think it's going to be Tech Super 17, and then we got 2 more random SSRs, so it's the 2 Zamasus and Ribrienne. So I mean, these can be any combo of those random GT SSRs, and then the SR potentially going to be a Sin or a GT Goku or something maybe. So there you go, that should be the full lineup for the part 2 banners, aside from like the couple of random SSRs on this banner and the SR of course, and then maybe a question of who's going to take the spot of Vegeta and Trunks on this banner. It's pretty much set in stone, like that's what the units are going to be. So it's kind of cool to know that in advance, that those are the banners that we will be getting. What do you guys think? Obviously the banner unit is of course the big difference for this one as well, but let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you think the banners seem good? I know a lot of people are super hyped about Gogeta, and his banner definitely has a couple of good characters on it you can pull, especially including the AGL Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So let me know your thoughts on the banners down below. If there's any things you think I may have gotten wrong or predicted incorrectly, and you want to let me know what you think will be on the banner instead, do of course let me know that in a comment as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.